The key thing is to know where to start. Here you are watching online. Perhaps you're watching live, or you might be watching later. Or maybe you're here in the building. Maybe you're in the middle of London, or in your kitchen, or in your room, or on your phone. You are where you are. Where should we start? For this LGBTQ+ Eucharist, we will start where you are, wherever that is. Joyful, grief-stricken, sad or excited, unsure, purposeful, afraid, glad, nervous, you. And we will start with God. Unimaginable, eternal, holding the stars apart and the universe in its place, even tonight in the middle of this city with all that's happened to you today. Not sure if churches can be a safe place for you. We start with God. Because God is love. That's it. It's no more complicated than that, but no less complicated either. So where to start? In this sermon, I'm not going to make a case or prove a point or get into any arguments, but I will say that the place to start for the church or for people who talk about issues or sexuality or identity politics often start from where they don't want to be, often try to start from somewhere else, somewhere they are not. The conversation never moves then from a starting point that's fractious, cross, or worried, fearful. And on top of that, the church often starts with sex, which is important to us human beings, but again, not always a place to start. And the church has got this wrong for so long. But it's important to say publicly and without equivocation that this altar is not trying to make any kind of point in opposition, although it's sometimes described as that kind of thing. We're here because we start with you, and we start with God, we start with us, and this is true. The heart of the gospel is a life lived, and it's shot through at every moment with love. It can never be said too often enough. God delights in us where we are now and as we are today. Doesn't expect you to be perfect or sorted or calm or full of confidence. Don't try and start from somewhere else. Start from God and where I am and where you are. Because you simply cannot imagine the strength and the depth of the love that's poured upon you. Just listen to those words in the gospel, spoken by Christ and straight from the heart of God, who holds the universe. As I have loved you, so you are to love one another. As I have loved you, as I have loved you. You are under a night sky, a huge, clear night sky, and you can see from horizon to horizon you are showered with, overwhelmed with, drenched in love. You are precious, you are free, you are loved as you are. In my experience, speaking with people who, as in J. Hume's beautiful poem, would want to use words like outsiders, alone with my sadness and my deep desire for anxiety to be resolved and longing to belong, but scared to do it at the same time. This message of love might go into our ears, even make sense in your mind, but how does it settle in your heart? How can we, as human beings, fragile and delicate as we often are, get the hang of this love from where we understand it here in our heads, to where you know it here in your heart. It can, if we start not with the church, or with a commandment, or a word, or a book, or a relationship, but with that love. I heard a preacher once tell a crowd that was every day the subject of casual and sometimes not so casual racism, that there are angels in heaven doing high fives at the very mention of your name. My friends, I am here to tell you and to tell me, and you must believe me, that there are angels in heaven doing high fives at the very mention of your name. I can say this clearly, without hesitation, because the heart of the gospel of Christ is love. It's not just correct to say, it's vital to say that you and I belong here at this rainbow altar. You belong here whether you identify as bisexual, lesbian, trans, gay, genderqueer, non-binary, and all of you who are not sure or who don't know what your label is or don't really want a label, as well as every person who is straight, rich or poor, single, partnered, married, curious, every person who comes through the door on their legs with sticks, in a wheelchair, carried in the arms of someone else. Every person, whatever your age or ethnic background, the color of your skin or your life experience, you belong at this rainbow altar when you are in work or out of work, grieving, anxious, contented, or despairing. If your mental health is robust, if your mental health is fragile, if you are in love or lonely or pregnant or long to be, or worry that you don't want to be, if you're worried about getting older or feeling that you're too young, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, or if you're thin, or if you're big, or if you hate yourself, or if you love the sound of your own voice, you belong here because you belong to God. Every person, whoever you are, and whoever you are yet to be, is invited to belong here. And before any of us get carried away with the worry that this is self-indulgent or self-regarding or selfish, and I've heard that many times too, this deep level of knowing that we are loved as we are is the root of all work of justice. Because if I know this in my heart as well as my head, then I become able to say yes to the irresistible invitation to live and to love one another as we have been loved. That love is not transactional, it is profligate. It's not conditional, it's the foundation of all works of justice and of equity, all challenges to the status quo, and all banishing of the fears in us that have not yet been cast out by love. Love one another as I have loved you. This kind of love is utterly indiscriminate. And however many times you say you don't deserve it, or we repeat the words with our mouths but don't feel it in our hearts, however many times you worry what other people are thinking, or however many times you've been told that it can't possibly be you, it is you. This is the love that is poured out on all creation, and on me, and on you. Love that is immeasurable. Love that overwhelms my sadness, that holds my body when it breaks, that weeps with me and holds me still. And that's how we're asked to love one another. This is big. What a way to live. It's fundamentally uncalculating and can be life-changing. Love one another as I have loved you. Another way of saying this is what Maya Angelou said. When someone tells you who they are, then believe them the first time. At this altar, you are believed the first time. You don't have to explain or qualify or justify. In the name of this gospel, I'm not suggesting this love to you or asking you to consider it when you go home. I'm not telling you that you're loved so that you can work harder or be better at anything. I'm not letting you into some sort of secret or helping you understand the teaching of Scripture or trying to persuade you that the church is actually quite an inclusive place. There is no purpose to this sermon except to tell you in this place, at this altar, that it's true, and to invite you to rest and drink in the hope and the energy that that love gives you, the yearning to give all the love you have to give, to love yourself and the diverse world God has made. I'm inviting you to know in your bones, in your heart, in your gut, that you belong at this altar. This is where Christ's body is shared, and where I believe that the song of the angels and the archangels and all that gives voice in the diverse and beautiful creation sings together. And what is that song that they're singing at this Eucharist? They sing praise to the God of love, and those same angels at this altar, in the name of the God of love, even now, are doing high fives at the very mention of your name.